Okay, guys, so watch this video for Tuesday, April 4th. The SPY, you can see, has a little bit of a bottoming tail, which just means had a nice reversal today. It was really selling off pretty hard there and ended up bouncing back nicely in the afternoon. Nothing's really breached, so we just go on and build our regular watch list. I'm going to start with APOP. We had the gap up here and a big run on an intraday basis. Then came back down to the 8 on Friday, gapped up a little bit and sold off, and then gaps up above Friday's high. So this is kind of I mean, anytime you get a big gap up like this, like you did about a week ago, then you usually get a battle, right? Between long and shorts, bulls and bears. And right now, over the last several days, bulls are winning. If this can maybe push up through 10 tomorrow on an intraday basis or something, that might be enough to get this thing headed higher again. I don't live and die by numbers that I look at the night before, right? Because I don't know where the thing's going to open tomorrow. But the action in this thing is interesting. It's a lower float stock, so it can certainly move at times, so it goes on watch. CYCC, man, this thing had a huge move today. I'll show you where I called it in chat. We put it on the morning gap playlist. I called it right here over the half, over 450, or around 450, something like that. Just looking for this little kind of sideways action break, looking for the 450 area, which is, again, over the last, 15 minutes worth of trading, the previous 15 minutes worth of trading, looking for that to hopefully get it to push up through the open, which is red to green, and then through the high of day, and that's what we call stacked catalyst, because you had potential dominoes here and here right above the break. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I actually got a partial fill at 450. I didn't get everything I wanted, and it just ripped. Next thing I know, I sold some even before it broke the high of day. Sold some more right at the hole number 5, and then I got stuck in a halt, but it was one of those good stucks. One of those good halts to get stuck in. And then I sold the rest out of the halt and ended up making $1,700. That was the first trade I took all day. So, and you can see what it did since then. Man, this thing closed at 658 at the high of day, and as I'm babbling right now, it's trading at 709 and after hours. So it's going to go back on watch tomorrow. It's a lower float stock that had good news. And, a lot of people are going to be watching this tomorrow. I don't want to chase something tomorrow, but this might give sometimes you get a beautiful second day setup and you can trade it again. I am not in it now because I do not hold overnight. I have been trading long enough that I'm confident I can just log in any day and make my money and not have to have that risk of an overnight hold. BNTC. Now this one's a little obscure, but it's a former high flyer, right? It's a former low float squeezer. I mean, back here it went from a low of 235 to 440 in one day. Look at the range this day, 155 to 444. All that tells me is this thing can squeeze, right? It gets these crazy moves. All right, so then it's just done nothing lately. Had this little pop flag and then closed its highs. And if you look to the left, there's not a lot in the way. And then I think they came out with news right at the close. And last I saw, it's trading at 321. So potential gap and go, potential low float gap and go play tomorrow. It's certainly going to be on watch in the pre-market. See if we see how it looks. CNAT, C-N-A-T. Had this pop back here, and then it took out these highs on Friday, and then, it had that nasty looking, hey, topping tail. People who chase this break are going to be stuck, and next thing you know, it holds up pretty well. So, over today's high, certainly like maybe 6 could be an inflection point tomorrow. That could push through 6. Now, keep in mind, I don't know how it's going to open, right? If this gaps down and opens at 5, I'm not going to be getting long if it runs straight to 6. So you have to take everything, use some perspective, right? Look at the whole picture and all that. But this one is certainly worthy of being on watch because it's holding up really well after that pop last week. PRAN, you had this huge pop. Quiet Day. It was on watch today. Sadly, I had this on watch and I never caught any kind of entry in it. One of our members pointed this out, like kind of right in this area. And I looked and it only traded like 20,000 shares or something crazy like that. It was just nothing I could have called, right? It just had no volume at all. And then, of course, as can happen, the volume came in. This was probably some chat room calling it up here, this crazy volume. And this is a good chart to show you if you chase. Somebody tells you to get long, think it's going to go through 4, and they're telling you they're going to add through 4, and you're getting excited. Next thing you know, you're one of the chumps that got stuck, right? You can see that massive volume. That's a sign of an intraday top. Having said all that, you had a nice bounce to 360. It really held support at 340, and it went to 360 and closed kind of strong. This looks good, over 360 tomorrow. Again, with the same caveat I just gave you on the other stock, it doesn't mean I'm only going to trade this over 360. It might gap up, might gap down tomorrow, and either one of those, it could still meet my intraday parameters for a trade. So it's impossible in these videos to tell you how I'm going to trade it tomorrow because I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to trade it at all. I don't know if it's going to set up. BVXV. This one's kind of weird looking, but it did have big volume. Let's see, this would have been Thursday, and then Friday was, it sold off both days, so it's right back up and pretty strong. Keep in mind, this green candle, and it looks like a nice pop, was on 146,000 shares. So I suspect this thing's going to be too thin to trade. But the chart looks interesting to me. MRNS we had on watch. I'll take today's candle out of it because you had this pop, lower high, kind of a flag, and then a volume spike. And if you look to the left, there's not a lot in the way, especially over Friday's high, which was 183. Today had an inside day, so I'm going to watch it. 179, 184 are potential catalysts. I'm going to write those down right now, so I have them in my notes for tomorrow. LPTH, really nice 2-day pop here from like 220 to over 320. That's a great percentage move right there. And you've got two kind of lower days on lowering, decreasing volumes, the smart way to put that. So I'm going to look for a possible turn back up tomorrow. We'll see. It just goes on watch, and we'll see if it gives a setup. DEPO, no trades in it today. This was on bounce watch. I'll pan out a little bit so you can see. I still think the shape change here, where it's gotten down to these lows from last March in a bit of a hurry, and you kind of have a narrow range today. I'm still looking for a potential bounce from that 12 lower from the low 12s. I'm not in love with that one. I'm more of a momentum player, but that is still setting up for a decent bounce. And then lastly, I have CBIO, which I took an afternoon trade in this thing. In the morning, I lectured everybody. I don't want to say lectured, but I kind of gave my perspective of, hey, guys, if I can make $1,700 in the morning in the first 30 minutes, I'm probably done for the day, right? Because my personality dictates that if I take an afternoon trade and just lose a couple hundred, then I'll just want to take one more trade to get back to the plus 1,700 or whatever the number is from the morning. And that can start me spiraling. And then I asked everybody in chat, I said, have you ever had a good morning and literally ended up the day red because you traded the afternoon and you did a bad trade and then you wanted to get back to where you were and so on? And literally everyone in the chat room typed Y or yes, right? Everyone typed yes except for those that had me muted or were lying. We've all done it. So because I know of my susceptibility to do that, when I get my morning goal, I generally walk away. And then after giving everybody that really intelligent speech, from my 50,000 hours of studying charts and trading and passing along my brilliant wisdom, I went ahead and gave back some money in the afternoon. I only took one trade and I didn't get decimated on it, but I still took away from my morning gains, just as I told people I almost never do. So for me, and I don't really need the screen time anymore, like for watching charts all day. The best thing for me to do is to walk away, once I've done the lunchtime Q&A and not even look back. Now, having said that, there are nice trades that can happen in the afternoon, but if I've got my daily goal, I prefer not to trade anymore because of what can happen. All right, anyway, having said all that, CBIO had this huge move. This candle went from 791 to 1888, and now you're, 4 days lower, a very narrow range today now. This is, again, I lost a little bit of money in this one this afternoon. I thought it was going to get through the high of day here, and it ended up getting through the high of day. Let me switch to 5s. Right, so I saw this volume coming in. It ended up, and I got long somewhere in here, thinking it was going to break the high of day, and it did, but I didn't have any shares out, to offer because I thought, hey, we've caught one. I thought it was really going to go, and next thing I know, the bids just fell off the map, and I had to take a like an entry from here and a loss here. Again, it didn't lose much, but having watched it today, I don't really like the way this thing, at least I don't like the way it traded today. The bids just fell off, but it's certainly, you haven't broken a previous day's high since this crazy move back down to the 8-day, so I still think it's worth having on watch. I keep thinking that's, I thought I had one more, but I'll tell you what, I'll leave it at that. We're going to add potential gappers in the morning in the pre-market. And if you have any questions about anything I've said, feel free to email me. Otherwise, guys, have a great night. We'll see everybody tomorrow.